What's been your biggest surprise? Do you have a surprise today?
You mentioned this before. You said some people have come here before and been like, oh my God, you're like so much calmer than I expected. I expected that. I guess seeing it all in person, like you see how cool it looks online, it's pretty fucking sick in person.
Is there anything looking back at today's performance? What could you done better today?
I could have held my winners a little bit better. It's just tricky because the bounces are really vicious. I would have liked to have held a couple of contracts in the event of this kind of move. And I think I could have done that if I had traded a little bit of the ES as well. The ES had a couple of entries that I probably could have been aiming to make like 200 points, which is crazy. So that's what I would have done differently, yeah.
Do you think if that first trade of the day would have worked out that you would have played differently, or?
No, I don't think I would have managed them differently. I
actually trade a little bit more aggressively, like after like a loser, and then I like my P&L obviously gets back to like in the green, and then like I'm getting more profit because
then you add on.
And I'm also kind of like maybe I've figured out the direction. So I think about it like if my trade gets, it's like if it's invalidated, that must mean that it's like being bullish now, right?
Right.
Like now it's reversing. I trade with a pretty tight stop too, so it allows me to be like, oh,
and catch those flips.
Yeah. Now we flipped. That bear flag turned into a bull flag. Real quick.
Real quick. I don't think losing the first trade did much to me, which is nice. Was very happy with the entry we got on the second trade. I just should have aimed for more. That was what it was, because where I was aiming, we managed the trade based off the dynamic R, how much risk was there, all that. I'm happy with that. I actually wouldn't go back and change how we managed those. All of those, I was happy with the management based on dynamic R. That being said, even though I think I made a good decision on that, the trades still went to target. They went lower. So what that means is if I could have changed anything on the day, it wouldn't necessarily have been management. It would have been how big was that first target. If I knew and had a bigger expectation for target, then I would have held the trades better because of that dynamic R. Thing that kind of played a role was I wasn't aiming for a big enough move, and that would have led me to hold.
I mean, hey, a 200-point move.
I'm still pretty happy with
yes. We're getting spoiled by this volatility, because if you don't get 200 points, it's like back in the day, getting 20 points is a good trade. After having a good day, what's something that you want to reinforce tomorrow? Do you trade tomorrow with the idea of like, hey, I had a good day yesterday, or are you just like back to square zero?
In this environment, which I normally don't even like just saying those words in this environment, but we're in a really unique spot where the market is usually only this volatile once every 4 or 5 years. Other than that, we never see moves this volatile, right? So I think if you've managed to capture money on any of these moves this week, it makes sense to be a little bit more defensive on the rest of the week. I don't want to say that for the whole week I'm going to be defensive, because if there are good trade setup tomorrow, I'm ready to push the buttons and I'm ready to go. But maybe I'll use one less contract. Maybe I'll use half a position. Maybe I'll just be a little bit careful, because these are volatile times. And I made a good chunk today, and I want to keep that safe versus just hitting daily loss 5 days in a row and losing that. Has happened, I mean, many a times. I'm going to try and keep the progress in it safe.
Obviously, some of my biggest red days always come after a big green day.
Yeah.
It can be a little dangerous when you get a little too crazy, because you get lucky. Like I 100% got lucky on that short today. I'm not going to lie. Like trying to short into that was probably not the best idea.
No, I don't think so.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, is you don't want to like reinforce this habit of like every time I'm just going to guns a-blazing, 15 contracts, this is going to hit kind of situation. You've been trading for how long now?
So I started at the October 2017.
October.
So it's like 7.5 years. Like I'm coming up on 8 years. Yeah, coming up on 8.
Almost my YouTube channel. You just
I know, right?
You was a youngin', boy. You know, when I first started my YouTube, I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend at the time, she's like, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, I make videos about learning how to day trade. Yeah. And I don't know why, but I really did. I just thought that it would kind of hit.
It hit, bro.
You know? I think I remember 5,000 subscribers, 50,000, and just like this evolution. And then it got to a point where like not to toot my own little horn here, but going places and people being like, "Patrick, wheeling?" I watch your YouTube, your trading YouTube videos. There's something about valet guys. I don't know what it is. I think every valet guy day trades. Have you ever met a valet guy?
No.
You don't valet?
I don't have a car. I live in.
We pull up to this restaurant in Boca, and every time I pull up, they're like, "Oh, hey Patrick, but we watch your videos in the morning." I'm like,
that's amazing.
Sick.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love about day trading, is I've told people, especially with futures, is you do not have to only trade the open, right? That's the biggest misconception when it comes to futures. I know plenty of profitable traders who trade at night, people who trade like just random hours of the day. There's always a move happening at some point throughout the day. You already said you kind of stopped yourself by walking away.
Walking away, and then also nothing beats FOMO like father time. I like that phrase. Father time is undefeated, right? So nothing in the sense of like everyone's going to die at some point. For us as traders, nothing beats experience and time. I don't really deal with FOMO too much anymore. That's not true. I will still deal with it if I totally miss a giant move. But if it's something like today, where I still caught a great trade, I just didn't get every inch of it. We've seen it so many times that I'm not saying that I'm fully immune to it by now, but nothing beats FOMO like father time, where you've just experienced it enough.
Trading can make money irrelevant in the sense of we press buttons and money disappears kind of situations. So it's also very easy to press a button and it also disappears.
Yeah.
I've been up $20,000 on the day and easily lost it all. To get to 20,000 on the day, I probably had to risk a lot. And, the first trade of the day, it worked out. Second trade of the day, oh my God, 200-point rip back up. You said earlier that you almost prefer like a slower market. So you have more time to kind of like plan your trade, see the opportunity.
Slower markets are great for me. I thrived under the Biden market because it was just boring. Like, it was just 4 years of really boring action, which is great. The higher volatility action is fun when you're on the right side of it. I took a loss on my Top Step Live that was 2x the size of my daily loss limit. My own fault that happened. I'm aware of that. It happened because the market was this volatile and because the spreads were so wide, and I got a terrible exit fill price, and it got me filled at literally double my daily loss. Stuff like that happens in a volatile market.
I mean, we're just in an unprecedented place.
Yeah.
It's very easy to make it, but it's even easier to lose it. What would be something that you try to really enforce yourself to do? And I know we talked about like kind of keeping your accounts separate, obviously, from your bank account.
Yeah.
Trading in a way of like, hey, worst kind of worst. Like, it's going to be a lot of effort for me to lose all my money in one day at least.
Yeah. Yep. That's what it is exactly. It's difficult for me to lose all of my money in one day, which is all I need. I need that protection from the one bad day. Daily loss limits by platforms, I think those are lifesavers, right? And then if you're trading a personal account, just withdraw as frequently as possible. Trading futures in these conditions, you don't need a lot of capital in order to execute well. Even when margins are raised on Tradevate, they're not that crazy. You can do a lot with a very little amount of margin trading futures. That for me, when trading futures, I'm not saying you have to be an all in or nothing mindset. I just mean that you don't need to keep a lot of cash in your account. The only thing that keeping a lot of cash in your account does is tempt you to size more, average down more, and then ultimately lose it. If you're not trading on a platform that has built-in risk controls, firm daily loss limit, that kind of stuff, then withdraw.
I've noticed that, normal markets, you kind of get that first push, the second push, and then it starts getting a little scary. That's possible, like kind of reversal level. Kind of Elliott wave theory of how the market moves. Do you have any rules when it comes to like, it's looking a little too straight up and down, I'm going to wait?
Things that go parabolic result in going parabolic the other way too. And so if something's going straight up like that, I'm not going to FOMO my way into it, and I'm going to wait for the consolidation and then let that decide my next move. So I was happy to stay away and not get caught in that trap.
Look at that. BDH, inspiring new lines. This guy, he's gonna be a fucking billboard in New York City. What goes straight up comes straight down. RakeTrades. Right in front of the New York Stock Exchange. Everyone's like, what?
If you're watching this video, go back to the stream that we traded earlier today and listen to the targets, the 197. I did not think we would get that today.
We both said, how do I stop myself from going from short to long?
15-minute charts, hourly charts, and then for entries, for the signal bars and entry bars that we were talking about. But then also make sure that if you're doing anything in the afternoon, that it's aligned with the opening print rule, meaning longs above the opening print, shorts below. It's because the daily candle's red. So why am I going to go long on a red daily candle?
What's kind of your rule of thumb? If let's say you're up big on the day, you have 10 grand on the day, what do you do? Tell yourself, I'm not going below 5.
Every day is a little bit different. Once I'm up over 2x my risk, which for me, I use daily loss limits on all my accounts to make sure I don't exceed that risk, right? If I'm up 2x what my daily loss limits are, I start to be like, all right, you've done good, right? Because that's the bare minimum. I need to make 2x. So if once I get to 2x the size is when I'll start to be like, okay, beware, you're up 3x what you normally risk. You're up 4x what you normally risk. Today, I was up about 9x what I normally risk. So even in the afternoon when entries presented themselves, I had no interest because 9x what I risk on a day is such a good return already that, like, for me, I wouldn't say there's an exact number, but once I start getting over 2 or 3x my daily risk, I start to be like, maybe you should be safe with it today.
It's a good way to look at it. Like I said, you're putting more days in the market in your bank. That's a great way to look at a prop firm account, really. Like the daily loss limit is kind of like, that's a day.
That's my day. Not a big deal. Right? When I win, I want to make sure I'm stacking 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 R's on that day and buy myself more losing days. And I'll win about half my days and I'll lose about half my days. And by the end of it, as long as I keep that math working, then I'll come out in an extremely happy position. I'm excited to see what the My Funded Futures live account equity curve looks like. I've been in a range and today kind of broke me out of that range on my balance.
BDH effect,
the BDH effect. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, Nutty Bar came here, he traded. Afterwards, he's on a heater.
Yeah.
He got like 3rd place in that My Funded Futures.
I saw that.
Like, what the Nutty Bar? You crazy son of a gun. He's a funny dude. You got to meet Nutty Bar. Grows up Amish, leaves the Amish, has a furniture company building furniture, handmade furniture, starts a fucking YouTube channel. Now he's a millionaire. It's crazy.
That's wild.
That is the American fucking dream. I don't care what anyone says. The trading space is such a weird place.
Yeah.
Everybody's competing for views.
Yeah.
Competing for dollars. What's your kind of take? I feel like you kind of just stay out of the drama. You talked about that you don't have a Twitter account.
I don't have a Twitter account. My rule is I make too much money to be worried about Twitter. Twitter, no matter what, you could be on there.
I make too much money. I don't want to worry about Twitter anymore. Okay, thank you.
I mean it. It's just... I also like his Twitter. I also really like reading your Twitter. Twitter is great, but it doesn't matter. You could talk about how you just saved an orphanage and gave them barrels of food and saved the lives of children and dogs. And Twitter people would be on there and be like, but you didn't do this right, did you? So it's like, it just doesn't matter what you do on Twitter. You're never going to have people positive. So I stay off of Twitter. I like to read it for fun. For the trader drama, it's fun. I watch it all.
You got to be crazy to be a trader.
You do have to be crazy. You have
to be an to be a trading personality.
Yeah.
Especially a whole other level. I mean, you're a character.
Oh, absolutely. Nowadays, in order to get views, stirring the pot generally gets views. Right now, I'm forever focused on honing my craft even more and more and more and more and becoming the best trader I can. So I stay out of the drama. It won't always be that way. I think that in a past life, I was a little bit more involved in the drama. And I think in a future life, I might be a little bit more involved in the drama. But at the current life, I'm so focused on executing my trades well that I'm like, I don't have brain capacity for the drama. That being said, as a viewer, I'm very grateful for it because God, it's great.
Sometimes I wonder. I'm like, are we into like watching a reality TV show sometimes?
I love reality TV.
Some of the shit that happens, I'm just like, am I getting punked? And we talked about this earlier at lunch. This idea that everyone's like trying to prove that they're the best trader. Like the market's gonna give, the market's gonna take. Some days some traders are really gonna excel, and then some days that trader's gonna have difficult conditions. So it's hard to like go on Twitter and just look at everyone else. I'm like, damn, everyone else is green today. People don't want to post their red days anyway.
Yeah.
How do you deal with not like putting too much pressure on yourself to put up big numbers or to get to the top of the leaderboard because someone else is on the top of the leaderboard?
Experience. I've had really big days in my past career, which has also naturally come along with that was really big losses, right? And so I personally don't want to make 250K in a day or 100K in a day trading because I know what it takes on the risk side in order to make that, right? Unless you're catching an amazing entry for 10R, which is totally reasonable, but it's hard. It's really hard to make multiple 6 figures in a single trade without risking at least 50. I personally don't really want to lose 50 grand real money in a day, Look at the math behind it and you're like, okay, what was on the table risk-wise for them or for that person and all that, right? And for most of the time, if you're making multiple 6 figures in a trade, it's just very unlikely that you're risking less than 50 grand. I'm like, Or if I see them talk about they made across 100 different prop accounts, they made 100K. I'm like, I'm not trading 100 different prop accounts. So it's not like, it wouldn't have been realistic for me to do that anyways. I am really focused on my own trading and stuff, which sounds wild to say because I've been trading for 8 years. I'm a trading influencer. I'm in the trading space. Like, you wouldn't think that someone who is at the stage I'm at is still like locked in and trying to like improve and get better and all that. And I think it's a perfect example of why everyone should be really focused on their own craft above all else. Trading is a game of runs. You were on a very hot run through September through January. You were on a mega run. I have had my runs and I will have more runs. And I know that. Everyone goes through runs and drawdown. Death, taxes, runs, and drawdowns. You can't escape any of them. And so not letting yourself get worried about another trader that's on a run, I think is really, really important.
The biggest thing that I've noticed with traders that are successful is just accepting that you're going to have those red days. There's plenty of really good up days, but there's also the bad days, and it's very easy to turn a bad day into like a really bad days. What has been like kind of the one thing that you just always focused on to stay in the game?
One of the things that can help keep you in the game is just having a longer time horizon. And it's hard because here's the deal. Every single person thinks that because of who they are and because of what they've done in other facets of their life, that they are going to be capable of figuring out trading in a year or two. So I think the biggest thing is realistic expectations on timeline. It's going to take every single one of you longer than you think, I think, to reach the goals that you want.
Like they say the quickest way to become a millionaire day trading is to start out with 2 million. You know, like, hey.
I haven't heard that before. That was
Heard
good.
that one? Yeah,
No, that was great.
Bad joke of the day. I've been very fortunate, obviously, because of the YouTube and to have that income.
Yeah.
You know, along the way, I've had my fair shares of ups and the downs in the trading world, but I always kind of just believed, I guess, at the end of the day. And I kind of knew, I was like, all right, it's not that I can do it, but I will do it. And it got to a point where I just kind of had to like make a decision where I was either going to like stop fucking around or kind of like get serious about it. I think with the BDH, all this stuff going on is, you know, there's a lot of pressure and I kind of get caught up in the whole...
For sure.
The game of it. So that's the biggest thing is just knowing that right now where I'm at, like I know how to get back to where I want to be. So it's just like kind of battling back to that point. And,
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you ever think about quitting? That's a question that people always talk about.
Yeah, yeah, this sucks.
It sucks. No, I get it, but like really quitting. Like really?
No. Well, I mean, what are you gonna do?
That's what I said. No, that
What
my...
are you gonna do? Like, what are you gonna get a normal job?
No, exactly.
What are you gonna do? You know what I mean? Like, the one thing that I do know is as much as people want to talk and whatever, Patrick, blah, 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 affiliate. Like, I know 100% that if I had nothing else, no other way to make money, that I could live on a little island and I could trade and make enough money to survive. And that to me is like the most just freeing thought because now I live on the beach.
Yeah.
You know, I can make $200 a day. Come on.
Yeah.
You know? Like, that's the dream. Is that not the fucking dream for
No,
everybody?
it's a skill set that we have. We worked really hard and there's a skill set for it now.
It's
So like
something you can do anywhere in the world at any time. And like you even said, like you don't need $1 billion to make enough to live on.
I traded with 2 contracts today. 2 contracts. And
That'd be enough to live on a beach for at least a month.
Yeah.
But like, you know, I'm good at being a YouTuber.
A lot of traders have said something along this lines where they're like, you're not a real trader if you haven't thought about quitting. And in my head, I'm like, that's a lie because I'm a real trader and I have never thought about quitting. Not once. I've had terrible days in my especially my learning journey where I was like, I've had this days, but not once has those days resulted in me being like, I'm going to quit. Not a single time, even when I was blowing my paycheck. The only thing that I was like, I got to figure this out.
Well, there's also differences between quitting and taking a break.
Oh, I had nothing wrong with taking a break.
Right? Like life, sometimes life happens. The market ain't going nowhere. Has anything changed?
No.
Do bull flags and bear flags not work anymore?
It's the same exact thing.
You know, does support, like, does it not work? No, it still works. And it'll always work. So you can learn to trade a little bit now. You can learn to trade a little bit next year. Like there is no cap. There is no race to the top. Because if you try to get in that mindset where you're just trying to like, I want to get right to 1 million, like good luck, bro. Because if it was that easy, everybody would fucking do it. Last and final question. If you could go back in time and tell yourself 3 things.
Okay.
But you couldn't give like all the answers. Just
Yeah.
3 things to be like, hey, this is all I can say.
Yeah.
Listen up.
Yeah.
What do you tell yourself? It
One-
doesn't all have to be about trading. It just be about life in general.
I would say first, so don't try and be perfect. Second thing I would remind myself is to have more fun with it, especially as not to be careless, not to be reckless, not to be stupid, but to enjoy the like head down grind of it all. Because there was a few years in trading where I was very head down grinding, where I felt like I was like depressed on some level, like outside of like in my regular life and all that, when in reality I could have enjoyed the process a lot more, right? So I would go through it with a little bit more of like a smile on my face as opposed to sense of frustration. And then third thing I would tell myself, continue to not care what anybody thinks, because you're a whole lot more fun when you don't care what anybody thinks. And I think younger me, especially once I started making content, I started to worry a little bit about what people thought and some looks I would get and all that. And in hindsight, it's been one of the best decisions I've ever made. I'm sticking with my gut and being myself every single time.
If I would have quit doing YouTube back when I started, it's easy to focus on the negativity, especially if you're red.
Yeah.
You know, especially looking at the chat and everyone's like, hey, you lost money today. Why did you not just get short? Famous last words. Why, why did I get long? I don't fucking know. I got long. There was a bear flag. Bull. Who knows? Like we said before, no matter what you do, no matter if you prove it 1,000,000 times, the 1,000,001 time, they're going to be like, yeah, but you're that you're a scam. It's like,
yep.
I just showed you a bank account. Yeah, but it's always something. So the best thing to do is just, like you said, focus on your journey, focus on your trading. And I think with trading, a lot of times people, especially for new traders, you don't want to talk it up too much to like people around you. Because I feel like you kind of bite yourself in the butt, you know?
You do.
In the beginning, it might be a little easy, you know? You might make a little bit of money in the beginning, but then it's like, you tell your friends, oh, dude, I made $500 today. And then tomorrow you lose 500. And they're like, well, how did it go? You're like, well,
And then you lie, and you say, and then you lie.
And then it's
you
a
lie.
snowball, right?
I think that there was multiple times in college when I lived with my roommates and I started to trade for the first time that I would have a green day and I'd be telling them all about it. And then I'd have a red day and they'd be like, so how did today go? And I'd just be like, you know, just a little stressful. Like, I'm still trying to figure it all out. And like, I'd have lost everything I made the day before, you know? I'm like, And I'm like, I wish I didn't tell you that I made money because I don't know.
I always tell my girlfriend, I'm like, because she used to always ask me, like, oh, how did your day go? I'm like, red day, green day, it's all the same shit. Honestly.
Yeah.
It's weird because, like, even today, like, I had a $26,000 day in that Tradify account. I don't feel any different.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like. I know it's because I know tomorrow, like as easy as I made that today, I can lose it tomorrow. So that's the big thing too, is just a red day, green day. You kind of want to keep that same
energy,
right?
No matter
like,
what. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go out and spend 30 grand because I made 30 grand a day, which I might anyway. But that's the biggest thing with trading is just finding that point. And everyone's different. Like, I think you made a really good point this morning when you said big reason that you don't go to break even is because you don't want to go on tilt.
Yes.
Right? So that right there, even though, yeah, sure, there's plenty of times where maybe you should have went to break even. But you also know, like, hey, if I go to fucking break even and this trade hits, I'm going to lose more money than I would just by not, you know, moving my stop and following the plan. It's like you had to figure out what worked best for you. And that's everything in trading, right? Everyone's got to figure out what works best for them. And that is literally the secret to it. Some people come in here and they're like, oh, this is the only way to trade. I'm like, well, good luck with that. Do you trade when you travel?
Depends on where. It depends on the setup that I have with me. Yesterday at the Airbnb, I just had one little travel monitor. I sat at the screen for an hour, then left. Here, even though I'm traveling with these screens, oh hell yeah, I'm trading, you know.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. I know the chat was really enjoying you here today. We talked about some big plans in the future, big deals. You never know what's going on here at the BDH, but I look forward to having you back and having some more fun here real soon. Let's go do some
racing. Thank you again for having me, bro. Truly, this was a great experience.